What happened to the Jews after the fall of Rome? We know that the Romans persecuted the Jews, and then after Rome fell, what happened?
Well, what do you mean Rome fell? Just,
well, okay.
it was no longer,
Yeah.
it just became Italy.
So
Italians.
what happened with the Jews,
when the barbarians came in and took them over, they scattered. It's called a dispersion or diaspora.
Diaspora, yeah.
But that's happened all the way from the first captivity. They've been dispersing, which is another reason why they've lasted. They spread to Alexandria. There's a great population of Hebrews, and even today in Alexandria. And they went into other cities in Egypt, and they've gone up into Samaria. They've gone into Turkey. They've gone to England, France. They're all over. I mean, the diaspora is really a Jewish phenomenon, if you think about it, because they were smart enough to move into their own territories, establish their own little community, and then managed to have a synagogue or a teaching area where they teach their young, and now, of course, they have the state of Israel, which they didn't have all those years. And then in 48, they finally got their own state. So now, of course, everything is focused there, and they've got Jerusalem University and great libraries trying to reclaim all their ancient writings from all these different parts of the world.
Interesting. Do you see a way to blend denominational differences, not just religious differences, but specifically Christian denominations?
I don't think that'll ever happen. If anything, there'll be more. I think there'll be new ones coming up and old ones dying out. If they can agree on the main essential, and most of them do, then it's just a matter of polity, how things are handled. For instance, Teresa's church is congregational, but they do almost everything exactly the way we do. The only difference is we have a session. The people vote and have a board that decides polity.
We meaning Presbyterian.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, Presbyterian. But the congregational has the congregation votes. Other than that, everything in their services are exactly like ours. And I've been to others, like, I think Lutherans a little more orthodox. A lot of the differences are in the way they do the Mass and the way they do communion. And of course the confessional. But even that's changed. I believe that's face-to-face now. It used to be there was a little partition between the priest and the person talking, and now they go and kneel before the priest and talk to him face-to-face, almost like visiting a psychologist.
Really?
No.
Oh.
So these things are changing, and they're bound to change. And if you want to keep your religion fresh and up to date and attract younger people, you have to keep it up to date. You just have to change.
Isn't Episcopalian a lot like Catholicism?
Yes, it's an offshoot. That's what my sister Cora is, Episcopalian. And she's one of the Reformed ones because they have a female bishop.
Interesting. All right, so are you ever going to write that book?
I don't see any use for it. There's so many books out there already that are so much better. I'm still in the learning phase. There's so much out there to learn, and the more I read and look at things, the more I realize how little I know. But it's exciting. It's fun teaching. It's fun sharing what you've learned. I find it interesting, especially in my class, that things I'm sharing that are new to them, that I've known for 20, 30 years, and to see someone's face light up, they're like, oh, I get it. And you think, wow, I didn't think that would ever come in handy. Right. That's part of the fun of teaching, seeing that happen.
What would you like to teach in the next 5 years, let's say, that you haven't taught yet?
Well, for one thing, they want me to teach the intertestamental period, which nobody in the church, I've never seen any church teach that. You can only go to university to study that. But I have enough background material, I could teach that very easily. I'm still teaching Greek classes, and hopefully they want me to teach Hebrew, so I may start that. maybe on a Sunday morning or something, between services, something like that.
And now you're teaching Koreans English too.
Oh, well, yeah, English, Latin, and Greek. But those are kids, and there's a big difference between teaching kids and adults, a very big difference. Adults come with a very preconceived idea of religion. They come with ideas of their own, which they want to explore, and they're not always willing to change. Kids are open. Kids are like sponges. They're just waiting to sop up everything. And if you can just teach them to weigh them carefully, and if this makes sense, keep it. If it doesn't, get rid of it. And everybody's different, so if it makes sense in your own experience, hang on to it and use it. But if you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not ready for that, or I can't accept that, or that sounds like nonsense, well, get rid of it. So we're all different. Thank God. Viva la différence.
Right. Well, that's all the questions that I had. I'm sure I'll think of others once the camera stops.
I think that's probably enough.
Is there
Yours would be bored to death here.
No, I don't think so. Is there anything else you wanted to add that you thought of while I was asking you questions?
Well, I think sometime I would like to go back to the synagogue and sit in on some of their Hebrew classes. I did that once, but I was anonymous. They didn't know I was a Christian when I came to the class. Dr. Perry and I went together, and he was in one class and I was in another. And then one man stood up and said to the rabbi, "Do Christians really believe this stuff?" And I sat there and I thought a moment, do I want to blow my cover? Do I want to let them know? And I thought, no, this is the time I need to be heard. And I stood up and said, yes, they do. We do. And then they treated me differently after that. I was that Christian in the group. Be careful what you say. So I don't know if it was a wise decision or not, but I was there to try to find out their mindset.
Right. So if you went back to the synagogue, what would the purpose be?
Well, I'd like to be in there and find out more about the services and how they're conducted, and I'd like to listen to the cantor and find out how he says the Hebrew prayers, because they're chanted. There's a certain rhythm, and it's like a sing-songy thing. I'd like to learn to do that, so when I read it, it wouldn't sound like I'm reading Hebrew in English or something.
Right, the accent is different.
Well, it isn't the accent as much as the tone.
The intonation.
Yeah, there's different tones. They go, so I'd like to learn to do that.
Okay.
And I'm also studying Kabbalah, so I've been taking videos home from the library to study the, Kabbalah is the study of the Hebrew alphabet, and if you learn to do it properly, you can put one on each finger. You can put this, it looks like Aladdin's lamp. You may go by a synagogue and you see that, and you won't know what it is, but that's what it is. It's the symbol of the Hebrew alphabet. And by the one symbol on your finger, you can turn it anywhere and make a Hebrew part of the alphabet. You can make any letter in the alphabet. It's amazing, just by turning this, up, over. So I've been learning how to do that, so I can add it to my Hebrew class if I teach.
Which language do you enjoy teaching more, the Hebrew or the Greek?
Well, I know the Greek better. My vocabulary is limited in Hebrew, because even after you read the Hebrew word, you still have to know what it means. Whereas you can read a Greek word and pretty much guess what it means, because it's built in there. You can just see the English in it.
And you learned Latin as a kid.
Well, I wasn't a kid, I was in high school. I had 4 years of high school Latin. Yeah, I loved that. But I think that's why that's why with the Latin that made Greek easier. Hebrew is much more difficult. And of course you read from right to left, so that's a habit you have to get into when you're reading it. Start this way, you go,
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful language. Another thing I'd like to do, I'd like to study calligraphy so I could do the Hebrew alphabet the way it's supposed to be done instead of the way I do it. It's pretty sloppy the way I do it. it's really a beautifully drawn language if you know how to use the pen to do the caricatures and characters.
What are we gonna do in San Francisco?
Is this gonna be? She never wants to quit.
You want some lunch?
Yes, I'm hungry.
Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.